Hey, everyone.
I just have to say one thing before we start here, because I had somebody in the comments say that, loves the show, but the 15 minutes yesterday at the beginning of the show that we talked about Yanni versus Laurel and yeah, please. I just reflecting on how stupid society is that we're getting fixated to the point that it was on ABC News yesterday, Yanni versus Laurel. But that and a couple other things, it's like, okay, a lot of people seem to like the pre-show. If you don't like it, here's a suggestion. Watch the show on YouTube and forward. And then you get to the hockey talk. That's my nice moment of the day.
Very diplomatic approach, Mike. So let's talk about, and I think it was a day ago, it may even be 2 days ago now, the Cleveland-Boston series. There was a play where Al Horford's in the air, and I think Marcus Smart is the guy that – no, not Marcus Smart.
It was former Nick J.R. Smith.
Right, J.R. Smith. Horford's up in the air. J.R. Smith pushes him while he's up in the air. He goes down like a ton of bricks, and they only call a flagrant foul 1, not a flagrant foul 2. Try and say that 3 times fast, which would have gotten him kicked out of the game. And here's the thing. NBA guys are warriors. They don't wear any equipment unless they have something broken already like Joel Embiid did. They don't wear a lot of padding. When you go down on the hardwood, you're going down hard. And when these guys are 220 pounds and sometimes larger, they're hitting like a ton of bricks. They're lucky nothing bad happened to them. But if his head hits or his elbow hits, his elbow shatters, the fact that they didn't call something more on that shows you that it's not just the NHL that needs to revamp some of these things. So does the NBA.
Yeah, and Marcus Smart, who you mentioned, he came to the defense of his teammate, got into the face of J.R. Smith. And not to say there was almost a brawl, but you saw him sort of cocking his right hand, and he got stopped by Khloe Kardashian's favorite NBA player, Tristan Thompson. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and this is the thing. Yes, these calls are completely subjective. There was a call in the Houston Golden State game yesterday that was just called a regular foul. So that one of the announcers said, "I don't know what a flagrant foul is anymore." And
right.
Like it's like that in the NHL with suspensions, with head hits, with things of there's no. I don't think there's any solution to this because you have different referees on different nights and different players from different backgrounds and all this stuff. And I think you just have to call it the same way, but that's utopia. They're never going to do that.
But the one thing that the NBA has over the NHL is if they call a flagrant 2, it kicks the guy out. It kicks the guy out of the game, and then it's an automatic tribunal to see if he's going to get suspended.
Right.
Better than the NHL, because the NHL, if he kicks you out of the game, guy gets kicked out of the game, it's still up in the air whether there's ever going to be a hearing with the Department of Player Safety. Where there, it's 100%. You are going to meet with the league and talk about this. With the NHL, it's up in the air, and I don't like that.
Earlier in the playoffs, I can't remember what it was. One of the hockey insiders on either TSN or Sportsnet was saying that one consideration for the league going forward after all these head hits is basically what you're saying, Russ. A 2-minute or a 5-minute in a game for a head hit, just. Because right now it doesn't seem like that's like only if a guy has his jaw broken or his teeth knocked out is somebody going to get ejected for the game for hit in the middle of the ice or for boarding. So maybe a minor and a game misconduct just to be able to get the player out of the game and then adjudicate the situation, similar to the way
playoffs and regular season shouldn't matter for things like head hits. Because at the end of the day, if I walk up to you and kick you in the balls, today, or I do it on Christmas, it's going to hurt just the same.
Yeah, I'll be singing like Freddie Mercury if that's the case.
Oh boy,
that's all I got.
That's all you got. Excellent.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Yes.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
All right. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, May 17th, 2018.
Thunderbolts and Lightning. I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in the comings and goings in the hockey world. And now with shorter pre-shows. No, I'm just kidding. No, honestly, there's so many. Mike's right about what he said about the pre-show. There's so many people who talk when we talk about getting rid of it that tell us that they like it. So I mean, it is. You can always fast forward it, and you know what? It's just a way of transitioning into the show.
It's our warm up. This is like stretching for us.
It's a warm up for us. Yeah. So the
although I do have a quick story. One time when I played softball, I never stretched before playing softball, and a friend of mine on the team says, "You gotta stretch, man. You gotta stretch." So I stretch, and the first fly ball hit to me, I pull a quad.
That is not because you stretched.
Yeah, yes, it was. It definitely was, because I never pulled the quad before. I never pulled. And then I'm playing right field. They moved me to right where the balls never hit, and the balls hit to me, and I pulled the other quad.
You know what that's from? Lack of potassium or dehydration. That's what that's from.
Oh man. Well, let's get on to last night's game, and I do want to actually talk a little bit about the World Championships, which are going on today, which are a couple really great games.
Oh, okay.
Where's that? Where's that going?
The World Championships are going on today.
Okay.
A couple really great games. I don't know if you guys
really
watched
the
them.
whole world's involved.
Yeah, it's right now, and it's what's funny is all the players that came over there from Sweden and Finland that are playing. I mean, it's like there's a lot of predators in this thing right now, and they just got eliminated.
Well, you see, all right, we'll talk about it later. I have something to talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's actually really good hockey right now. But let's go into last night's game. Last night was I thought maybe the most entertaining game of the playoffs.
Yes, it was pretty close, if not the best. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good. It was high quality. I thought both teams played well. I thought that it really was like Winnipeg's game for the most part. This is where we were down to the point now. The difference between this series and the last couple series is that the Knights have stolen 2 games in this series, which is like in the last 2 series, they were winning games. They were just outright winning them for the most part. They may have stole a couple. I think they stole one of the games against LA pretty much. I remember. But they pretty much beat the Sharks. But in this game last night, again, after the first period, the shots were like 36-10 or it was some crazy number from the second and third period on. There was a brief moment when the Jets lost it defensively, which is all the Knights needed to make, to score 2 goals on bad plays. And then before you know it, then Marc-Andre Fleury does his, Dominic Hasek routine and basically just totally shuts the thing down.
Here's the thing. There was something that I think Vegas did in this game that's longer lasting. I know Peter didn't agree with me, but probably because it hit too close to home. But we saw that, look, Connor Hellebuck, when he has to go to the backhand trying to clear the puck, is not perfect at it. And he's a little bit, iffy about it at times. We saw Vegas defending that on 2 sides on the boards. Yeah. When they did that, they put like a bomb in his head, because the next time he had to do it, that's when he coughed up the puck and they got that goal. And a great pass by Eric Holla, who I'm sure Wild fans are sick of hearing about already, but it was a great play. But the idea was that is something now that I think is in his head. I don't think he's going to be able to get it out. I know they asked him about it post-game, and he said that, it's fine. It's what he's been doing all year. But you could tell, Eck, as a goalie, the second time he did it, he was more deliberate about it and was thinking about it.
No, there's no question. There's no question. And because that is there's a lot of pressure put on goalies in the NHL to stop that wraparound, that you see. And it's funny because sometimes I just think, what are you doing? Like, there are some goalies that are throwing wildly their sticks out across a bunch of boards, hoping to stop it. I mean, I know it helps your team to knock it down behind the net.
I'm talking about the clear before it turned.
I know, but you see this. It all comes out of this because it all like this. They both. I mean, the goal the second goal for Vegas is a dump in. He goes, he ends up with the puck, trying to, and there's so much pressure on these guys to get out there and make these plays, and not all of them are Marty Brodeur goalies. I mean, these are not all these guys can handle the puck incredibly well. I mean, Fleury handles the puck pretty well, but not again, none of the goalies that are left are just incredible puck handling goalies.
Well, I mean, first of all, Vegas was extremely opportunistic. Getting the goal early, getting the goal in the opening minute. basically on hustle by Marchessault, flying past. I think it wasn't Trouba, was I can't remember.
It was totally Trouba, and Trouba made a really bad play on it actually because he tried to jump up in the play before he. I mean, it was an unbelievable play by
Marchessault.
No, by the defenseman who passed to him.
Braden McNabb.
McNabb, and he did what Vegas does probably better than anybody else in the league, which is pass to spots. Like they throw the puck to an area. They often don't even know if a guy's there. I mean, I'll say that the goal that comes at the end that Haula makes, that pass, he's just thrown in front of the net. It turned into a great pass. But when you look at it, the way Neil is coming around, Neil is in the corner basically coming around, and no one's there. But they're very good at throwing the puck to spots.
Yes, and one of the things that, it's not something that you really plan on doing, but Vegas never let Winnipeg feel good about themselves in that game. They, opening up the goal or opening up the game early with that goal, they tie it after number of chances, and what was it, 12 seconds later they took the lead back. So it's like it was never, there was never any sense of Winnipeg feeling confident, because every time they seemed, Vegas had an answer either with a save from Fleury or with another play. And I have to say, I've always called that Andrei Vasilevsky the Russian Gumby, because of the way he stretches in odd ways and how flexible he is. Well, for being over 30 years old, I have to say Marc-Andre Fleury is amazing, because some of the kick saves that he made yesterday and some of the contortions that he did, I don't know how a 32 or 33-year-old guy is doing that, because it's phenomenal. But he's
been exceptional at that, though.
He's extremely flexible, and we
haven't been able to see him really do that for a while now, because he wasn't the main goalie in the playoffs and Stanley Cup run last year. And if you didn't see like his early games for Vegas, and then he got hurt, and then he was shelved for a while. Like, we haven't seen a lot of it from him lately.
Right.
Yeah. No, he made such good, and the one kick save on Bufflin was phenomenal. Like, there are certain plays that they are just playing. So, I mean, the Jets, I mean, with the exception of, I thought Patrick Laine was behind the play last night. Like, I felt like Patrick,
totally behind the play. And this is another, I don't want to, keep railing on Bufflin, but Bufflin needs to elevate his game every game, not just when he just feels it and it's going great.
And not just, oh great, there's a scrum and he goes in and he pulls two Vegas guys off the pile. Who cares?
No, but he made some plays.
You really don't care about him being, and I heard somebody refer him to as basically being like a bouncer on the ice. It's like, okay,
I don't need that.
I don't really need that. I really don't.
That great slap shot. Then he had another really nice rush towards the end of the game where he went down the side and Fleury made a great save. I mean, he was doing his Bufflin thing for the most part. But Laine hit the post on the one shot, which was a really good shot. But beyond that, it's like the speed of the game is too fast for Laine. It feels like that you're looking at it such a quickly played game. Laine needs a little more time to make the plays happen, or he's got to wait for the puck to come to him, because it's just not happening.
I mean, I'll cut him some slack because he's 20 years old, and and
I think that's fair. I think totally true, but it's just it was apparent. You can see it very clearly. I mean, he is.
But here's a clue for Vegas: cover the guy whose number is 55. I mean, my God! I mean, Scheifele has been incredible.
It's hard to cover, though, Mike. It is.
Oh, I know. I'm joking here, but I'm just saying. The guy's got 11 road goals in the playoffs. I mean, he's unstoppable. I mean,
but you know what? But here's the thing: the positive for Vegas here is that keeps them unbalanced. This is an unbalanced scoring attack by Winnipeg,
right?
And Scheifele scores twice, and they still win. Like, they walk away with that saying, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, Scheifele is their only offense right now, really. Yeah. I mean, and you're right. I mean, but he is. I mean, he is amazing. And like we talked about before, this is basically the first time that you're getting a chance to see really what Scheifele's all about, I think, to most of the people in the NHL, because we don't see Winnipeg that often. But
I think we had glimpses of that going even back to the World Cup of Hockey that you saw when he was playing on that line with Matthews and McDavid. I mean,
he had them for sure, but he's doing it now at this,
at a level that, exactly.
Great stage.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Sorry. I was going to say, I pulled a good stat. If you want a good stat for Dustin Byfuglien, besides not having scored in the last 2 games, besides being a -4 in the last 2 and being a -5 in his last 5, in losses, he's got 3 points.
Yeah.
Now, he's got 15 playoff points, but he's got 3 in losses.
Yeah.
Which
just tells you they need him to win. They need contributing at both ends of the ice.
They need a lot. I mean, and Jacob Trouba is very average in this series. I mean, he might
have an injury of some sort because I noticed his skating is not what it normally is, and that was a part of the problem on that goal. But I also noticed it was a part of the problem just in general puck retrieval.
Yeah, and Morrissey's hurt, and we know Enstrom is not playing at 100%. So that those are factors. But on the other side, and it's funny because we talked about this in a different context a few days ago, but James Neal, after he got rocked, they showed him going back to the bench, and they showed a close-up of him on the bench, and he was glassy-eyed, and he looked like he was in a completely other world. And it took them, I would say, probably 4 or 5 minutes to send him to the locker room. He was sitting on the bench. He didn't go back on the ice, but he was sitting on the bench, and then they sent him to the dark room. So the spotter must have either the spotter worked and they said go, or it was the training staff and said, well, let's go check you out type of thing.
Either way, it worked out the right way that time. It did. Right.
But I'll tell you, like, he was interviewed after the game on Hockey Night in Canada. I texted you guys this.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
Now, was it after the game or in between periods?
After the game.
Okay.
By Scott Oakes. It was and granted the game was just over, and he was out there, but it wasn't, he's not out there at the very end of the game because he's not the one who's going to put out there defensively necessarily. So he just when he was being asked questions, his reaction time was very strange. Like to me, I'm not convinced that he doesn't have something. Now, and just because I'm very conscious of concussions. I mean, my daughter had concussions, and I had to quit playing hockey when I was in high school because of concussions for a while. So I'm really conscious of like how a concussion person looks.
Sure.
And he really looked concussion-y. Like when he was,
I had a grade 2 once. I was literally out of work for a couple of weeks, and I wasn't right for a month on a grade.
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling. So I mean, I would not be shocked. This kind of reminds me of, I forget the player who earlier in the year continued to play, but then it was somebody on the Penguins, I think, wasn't it? Was it Malcolm maybe, or somebody who played who not Malcolm, but it was somebody who got
Dupuis? Was it Dupuis?
No, but this year.
Oh,
this year who got hit, continued to play that game and then missed the next game because of a concussion.
Yeah, there was somebody, I can't remember who.
And I would not be surprised at all if we heard. I mean, I have no information on this at all, but if Neal is out next game, because it unless he's just not going to say anything, unless they're just going to ignore it, right. He did not look right. There's just no way that guy's and based, and the kind of hit he took too is the worst kind of hit for concussions too, because the jaw, it doesn't look as bad as some of the other ones you see, like.
No, but the jaw is a trigger point to concussion, no doubt.
When you get hit in the jaw like that, you're in trouble. That can be
one of the biggest catches, and I don't know who actually caught it, was in the scrum, Fleury with the ear flicking.
Oh, with the wet willy?
Yeah. Well, he didn't do a wet willy. He just flicked it. And because a wet willy, you got to have full, the difference. But anyhow, he did flick it. And it was funny because they did ask him about it post-game. And he was shocked. Fleury was shocked that it was caught on camera. He'd gotten away with it. And then he came clean and just said, well, I wasn't, there was a big scrum and I wanted to be a part of it, feel like I was in it. And it was really funny.
It was funny. I thought it was
really bizarre.
But
Fleury is wacky in the way he was definitely embarrassed. You could tell when he found out that he saw it.
But what I thought was even more significant was after Marchessault scores the empty netter, who does Gallant put on the ice? He puts out Ryan Reeves because he knew Winnipeg was going to start some crap, and Winnipeg put out Lowry and Kopp and not his goons, because there are no goons anymore. But he put on big guys who would maybe send a message, and they tried to send a message, and Ryan Reeves acted like a traffic cop for Vegas like Byfuglien did for Winnipeg. So not to say that, Ryan Reeves is going to be any kind of difference maker, but I really think that him being out there as a fourth line guy, and I watched him when he was out there, he was playing well, he was hitting people, he's having an effect on the game. that injury to Carrier that put Reeves into the lineup may be of benefit to Vegas going forward.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to need it size wise. I mean, this game 4 is going to be a war. It's going to be an absolute war, and Winnipeg is going to bring. I still don't know about the series. Like, it still feels like Winnipeg's the better team, but where I haven't felt that way with the other 2 times of the first 2 series for Vegas, I really felt like they were the better team. But Winnipeg really feels.
I think this is what it is, Zach. They are the more talented team.
Yes,
but Vegas seems to have better will. And I mean, what I mean by better will is by team proxy, not by just certain players. Because look, we could look at, if we break it down right now, we're going to say Winnipeg's better by overall talent.
Right.
But what I'm saying is the will of each player for Vegas and the way they bought into their system, they were right back making sure that nobody on Winnipeg had the puck for more than a few seconds. They would get the puck back. They would keep it away from them. They did a great job of keep away in the defensive zone. Like, nobody missed a beat. Now, granted, they can't do that every game against Winnipeg, and that's why this is going to be a long series. But I just feel like with Fleury and with that is something that I don't know if Winnipeg could overcome.
And there were segments of the game in the second and third period, like you were saying, where Winnipeg had the puck in the zone, dominated, Vegas was icing the puck. Same tired guys were out there, and Fleury makes an unbelievable save to keep them off the board. Yeah. And but where that goes, though, I mean, because I think Winnipeg played great yesterday, and just in certain Vegas was able to cash in on their opportunities. There's going to be a level of frustration with Winnipeg if that happens. Like, say in game 4, somebody scores in the opening couple minutes, and they're playing great and they're still losing 1-0. You're gonna get to the point where there's a level of frustration where Winnipeg is almost gonna start spinning their wheels, and that can happen. A team can overcome some of that stuff, but when they're outplaying somebody and they're still losing, they get pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a demoralizing loss for Winnipeg, but it tended towards it, and it tended if you have another game like that, like I do think that if Vegas wins the next game, it could end in 5. Like, I really could see that, because I think that if there are points at which this thing could get demoralizing. Honestly,
I think if Vegas wins game 4, it's still going to go 6 or 7. I think they're
I think 6 is the minimum. And I do think either team could win. I know I picked Vegas, but I do think either team could win. But I just, at the end of the day, right now, if I look at things with just an unbiased eye, Marc-Andre Fleury is the best playoff goalie. He is. Yeah. And so if Vegas just plays their normal Vegas game, that makes them an extremely tough out. And that's the problem here is Fleury is loose as a goose. I don't know if you saw the pregame where they ramped it up, man. That was maybe the best
That was a really good pregame
we've ever seen, and it was something I was in awe of it. But then when they showed it in the locker room, Fleury was like boxing with the guys. Like there was no stress in this guy whatsoever.
Can I make the case? And I know that there are a couple goaltenders out there, and Tom Barrasso and Chris Osgood, who have won multiple Stanley Cups and are not in the Hall of Fame, that Marc-Andre Fleury, if he even gets this team to the finals, I think is a lock now for the Hall of Fame. I
thought he was a lock anyhow. He's got 400 wins.
Well, I haven't heard people say that, but I mean, if that's the consideration, then sure. But I'm telling you right now, even if he gets to the finals and loses,
even if he doesn't, I think.
What else? Well, yeah, that's my point.
I do think this year, I do think before this year, you could have said, maybe because he wasn't really a part of 2 Stanley Cups necessarily.
Okay, you say he hasn't accomplished as a goalie even at this young age?
Well, he was a part of 2 of them. I mean, they wouldn't have gotten to the finals last year if it wasn't for him in the first 2 rounds. In 2009, he was the guy. I mean, in 2016, he was the backup, but still, I mean, it's still, he's on the team and he played games, so he gets credit for it in some instance.
Oh yeah, he deserves. I mean, I think that's a great call, though. I think I could totally see that. Him being put into the Hall of Fame easily because of this. It is really just, I mean, just because of the way he plays. I mean, having now gone to, if he goes to the finals, going to the finals with 2 different teams is another huge thing. You know,
problem is there is a goalie bias with the Hockey Hall of Fame, and what we see is a guarantee. They may be looking at and say, well, he's never won a Vezina.
Right. Right. And like I said, there's
something ridiculous like that.
There are three goaltenders who I've, in writing about the Hall of Fame, guys who are not in the Hall of Fame. Barrasso won 2 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. It was Rookie of the Year. The problem is he's a jerk, and it created a lot of animosity amongst the media. So that's probably why, if he does get in, it'll probably be after he's dead, or maybe even when he's in his 70s, when nobody cares about his personality. And a guy like Chris Osgood, who you could say, well, he's a good goaltender and he won cups, but it was mostly the team in front of him and he was the beneficiary. And a guy like Lauren Chabot, going back to the 20s and 30s, or I think he was in the 30s. But there are goaltenders out there that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Cujo deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm in the minority.
No, but there are guys. It does bring to light that there are guys that are definitely worthy. The interesting thing is, so in the NHL, he's never won a big award. Now, the interesting part about that is, I think that's just a victim of being on a team with Crosby and Malkin, and but I don't know. We see it all that way, but I'm telling you, when it goes up against, and you're just looking at a stat sheet, and it goes, and the people in the Hockey Hall are looking at it, I don't know if they look at it the same way.
I think this Vegas thing will go down as such a legendary thing, like this year one run, that it's going to become part of folklore of the NHL. Like this is beyond anything we've ever seen, anything that could have been expected, and he's such a huge part of that. I think that a lot of players status in their general status, they'll rise above their stations because of this. And I think that you'll see a lot of players, like Marcia, those kind of guys who were good players, but are going to rise way above it because they were part of this. And that's going to make it really interesting when they have to re-sign, because are they going to be more valuable for Vegas or someplace else? Like that, you could see this whole thing playing out down the line. Unfortunately, they don't have to really have to worry about that too much right away. But there are some players like they will have to deal with. But I think it's I don't know. I got a feeling that. I think it's going to be a long series, but I have a feeling that losing Game 4 will be demoralizing to the point where there's no way.
I will say this. Vegas has done what I don't know if we all thought would be possible, but next year when the Raiders come to town, I'm not saying they're going to be an afterthought, but I think this is Vegas's team. Like, this is the other team that's coming in are the Raiders, and most people still look at them as the Oakland Raiders, and you're just a team that moved. So yes, the NFL has an allure because the NFL is the most popular sport, but this is Vegas's team.
They went with that Vegas-born logo, I think, for that reason. I think that the fact that this is Vegas.
That was a good marketing move. It was.
Yeah. Now the thing is it next year or is it the year after?
I don't know. I heard next year, but it could be
I think it's the year after. I think he still have one more year.
Yeah, and remember, this is the Raiders we're talking about. They're the NHL. They're the NFL's vagabonds. They're nomads. They've gone to Oakland. They've gone to LA. They've gone back to Oakland. Now they're going to Vegas. They're opportunists. So yes, they'll be happy to have an NFL team, but this team, with what they've done, has firmly established them as, I think, the dominant force in that market, and this will never be forgotten. Now, it just coming from that, because I saw something yesterday.
I'm not so sure about that real quick. Let me just talk about that. I do think football does tend to trump things. I saw what happened in Nashville, with the Titans. And I thought, and the Predators, granted, they weren't completely established yet, and they hadn't done anything like this, of course. But the thing that the NHL definitely has over the NFL is the fact that there's only 8 home games a year in the NFL. There's a certain amount of, even though you talk about it, it's a very short season. Mm-hmm. Where the NHL lasts for a long time.
The hype machine, when they are ready to come into Vegas, the hype machine is going to be full on, and the other networks like ESPN. Like, here's a good example. I was watching one of the ESPN morning shows that I had it on, and they actually did break away and actually did talk about the Vegas game, but really because of Fleury's interaction with the Humboldt kids, not necessarily anything else. But I think this was ESPN's way of sort of saying, see, we're covering Vegas here because we know if they get to the Stanley Cup, it's going to be a major story, and then we're actually going to have to cover it for real.
We're covering Vegas in spite of the NHL, in spite of our disdain for the NHL, which is
right. I do think one of the interesting things about this is that the Golden Knights have actually legitimized Las Vegas as a professional sports city, which I think is fascinating in and of itself.
No because I mean, there was all this. See, and this is where we have to give the NHL credit because the NBA was scared of it.
Everybody's been scared of it.
The NFL had that problem with Pac-Man Jones, which, again, I've interviewed Pac-Man Jones. He's a problem. So that scared them away for a while. And the NHL really, risked it and got in there, did it right. And now they're going to really reap the rewards because everybody else is just a copycat. They were the first to do it.
With every win, I think it makes it more and more difficult on Seattle when they come in. I mean, I think that – yeah, I mean, because people are just going to have realistic expectations because you can't expect like Seattle to come in and say, "Oh,
like there's some." I agree. I think it does make it more difficult, but it also the other thing that this did was assure that Seattle would come in by themselves. That there's a certain there was definitely talk. There was some talk that they would bring 2 more teams in at the same time.
Well, it's ironic that you mentioned that because what I was going to say before was that there was a report. A quote from Jeremy Jacobs regarding expansion, and obviously Seattle's on the agenda, but he basically shot a volley at Quebec City, basically essentially saying that Houston might be in line ahead of Quebec City, and I'm assuming that that's because of the strength of the Canadian dollar and Houston being a major market. Now, I still think that it could be Arizona moving to Houston because that situation there is still untenable. There's no arena. I'm
just going to throw this out there because I thought it was weird timing on LinkedIn. I'm not going to give the guy's name, but I was friended or asked to be friended for somebody who's heading up the NHL for Hartford campaign, which I'm not sure I knew there was a campaign at this point, but there is one.
Still. Howard Baldwin is back?
No, it's not Howard Baldwin.
There's always been a pretty good one, actually. There's a lot of guys.
No, but there's a new one, I guess, Zach, and that's what
okay, because I've met people before that are on that wagon.
So even they're going to try heavy for a team.
It's starting to feel like Quebec is a relocation team. Like it really is. Like when I talk to people at the league, I think the fact of the expansion excitement after this, especially, the expansion excitement is something that they feel will play better in American cities than Canadian cities because in a Canadian city, hockey is nothing like, wow, what's that? It's not like it's hockey, So in a Canadian city, like where they see what's happened with Winnipeg, moving to Winnipeg, that worked well. I think moving to Quebec will work well for somebody. I don't know who that will be, but I could really sense that that's where it's going, where Houston could be an expansion team. Like I could see that. Yeah. I could see them coming in as an expansion team. I do think that, there's so much young talent that I think that when Seattle comes in, I think it's going to be much more tempting to not pick them as like the last place team. Like I think it's going to, I'm not going to say they're going to do what Vegas did, but I think it's going to be tempting to sit there and say,
again, I think the situation with Seattle is going to be not only our teams not going to do what they did with Vegas in the sense of we're going to give you a first-round pick to take David Clarkson, that type of thing. They're also, teams are going to be more prepared with no move clauses and with, their willingness to throw in draft picks or, just to clear their cap space. They're just going to say, Seattle, if you want to take the guy, take the guy. It's like they're not going to get – because basically in how many situations did Vegas get 2 or 3 for 1 in the expansion draft where they, talking Hala and
I do think I do agree with you on that. I think that there's something to that. I think that teams will look at it differently, but I don't know that they can change a lot of it. Like I think
no, they can't change the rules. But the thing is that there are going to be teams out there. I mean, it was a perfect storm where teams had players with no move clauses, like say Anaheim. They didn't want to ask Kevin Bieksa to waive his no move clause, so they lost Shea. They traded Shea Theodore for them not to take certain other players. Like I think it was Silverberg that was left unprotected. So basically, I think teams are going to say, you know what, take Silverberg, go ahead.
Here's what I wonder. I wonder if it will be Florida that is the team, because even though they've gotten this money from the state,
yeah,
the deal runs through 2028, and it's not all been given up front. I kind of wonder if they're going to break that.
I always felt that. I will say this, that I remember when that division was even formed, thinking it. Like I think, okay, putting that division together. Tampa and Florida are in the same division as Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. Like thinking about it, like I'm like, well, wait, if Florida becomes Quebec, it makes a lot more sense. But that's I think
that's more with like direct flights and snowbirds than anything. It's like Buffalo and Miami being in the AFC East. That was always the explanation for years, was that, well, there are always direct flights from Buffalo to Miami because Buffalonians in the winter want to go to Miami.
Yeah. Well, let's get into before we get into tonight. Let's go to I want to talk World Cup of Hockey, World Championships. Sorry, not World Cup of Hockey, World Championships, because they are actually really exciting this year. And today you have the quarterfinals going on, and right now you got like this crazy game going on where Latvia is giving Sweden a run for their money. It's 1-1 after 2. And this Swedish team, this has like, you're talking about Ekman Larsson, Philip Forsberg, Hornqvist, Zibanejad. It's like this Swedish team is crazy talented. And they're going against the Latvia team that has no NHLers on it that at least I've seen.
Who's goaltending for Sweden?
It's not
Lundqvist.
No, it's not Lundqvist. It's not. And
show up.
It's the same. It's his same last name as the monster. What's Gustafsson?
Philip Gustafsson.
It's Ottawa's Gustafsson. Okay.
Right. So Ottawa's Gustafsson. So he's doing okay. It's not his fault.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
And in this game, Latvia though, who is now being coached by a former NHL coach.
Is it Dave King?
No, Dave King got fired in this thing. He got fired from Belarus during the tournament.
That's why I thought. Yeah.
No, it's Hartley. Okay, Hartley. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He's coaching Latvia, and Latvia is just killing it in this game.
Okay, but let's talk about two things here.
Yeah.
First thing I hate about this tournament is anybody can join at any time the minute their team's eliminated, which is stupid. It's ridiculous that they should be able to just plug players in and out. The other thing is these guys are tired. Some of these guys have probably played 100 games this year, and now if they lose to Latvia, I can't look at it like it's a massive upset because A, all those guys have been playing somewhere else, and B, you can't even play a physical game in this tournament. Like, it's just
right. Let me express the opinion.
Hard to take it that way.
Yeah, let me express the opinion of the ugly North American, and I'll be the ugly North American. Even though Connor McDavid is playing for Canada, even though Patrick Kane is playing for the U.S., no one cares. The Stanley Cup playoffs are going on. If this was going on in July or August when there's no Stanley Cup playoffs, there's no draft, I would care. It's a tournament. I cared about the World Cup of Hockey. I don't care. It's going on while everything else is going on. Nobody cares.
Numbers on this, Mike. I don't agree with you because I know, but I'm getting a lot of reaction. I'm getting a lot of reaction to things I put out there because now we're only down to 4 NHL teams playing. So, I mean,
there's a game every night.
There's a game every night, but we are still talking about 4 NHL teams that are, Winnipeg's they each have their own interests, but I think there's a lot of people who are like, Arvidsson, by the way, is also on this team Sweden.
Right.
Especially,
I mean, this team Sweden is like almost to the level of the team we saw at the World Cup of Hockey. It's a really solid team.
I'm not saying that you're wrong because it's an impressive collection of talent, but especially in a year where the Olympics occurred, and we know that the players didn't go to the Olympics, so this is the opportunity for those players to play internationally for their countries. No one cares.
I mean, look at it this way, Arvidsson, using him as an example, played 78 regular season games, 13 playoff games. I don't know how many preseason games. Like, he's pretty much at 100 games. And when you get to that point, it doesn't matter who you are. You're not the same player. So that's.
I mean, if he wasn't playing now, he'd be playing in the freaking Stanley Cup Conference Finals. I mean, come on, it's like he'd still be. It's not like it's.
Players are much fresher. These are guys that don't play those kinds of games, and it's also they've got nothing to lose. Again, you're throwing.
But you saw the difference. I'm sorry. I've been watching this carefully. So the Czech team, the Czech team was fair, and then they get infiltrated by Pasternak and Krejci, and Pasternak and Krejci tear it up in 2 games.
Of course.
But no, I mean it's not an of course thing because there is a lot of talent all throughout this thing. It's not you're not looking at they weren't tearing it up against bad teams.
I'm not calling the Connor McDavid bad. What I'm saying is The format is bad. And there are some teams that shouldn't even be in it. And then the other thing is, A, some of these guys definitely are tired, but B, there's no hitting. This is like scrimmaging.
Yeah, this is shinny. This is international.
No, I mean, today the Canada-Russia game, there was sure a hell of a lot of hitting. I mean, that game went to overtime. When game went to overtime was really exciting.
Last few, sure.
Right. When but we're talking about like the games that have happened up till now, when it's like single elimination and you're done.
Yeah.
You know, basically it's shinny, and these guys are going over to Denmark so they can have a few beers and they can relax after a tough regular season and sort of mail it in a game that means nothing.
I don't get that impression from watching them play. Like Patrick.
Of course, they're going to put a good face on.
No. I'm saying. I mean, I know people. I know people who are over there talking to him too. Like Patrick Kane has played possessed. I mean, he's a guy who's really. I mean, Patrick Kane has a ridiculous amount of goals in this series in this thing.
Okay, I'm going to just show you the level of, like, I get that people overseas care, right? I do. It's a big deal for them because they
people in Canada care too. I mean, this stuff's on all the time in Canada. Okay. They talk about it constantly.
Okay, let me ask you this. Name me the last great player that batted a puck out of the air and into the net.
What do you mean?
In a hockey game.
Sidney Crosby.
You would be wrong, Mike. Eck?
I don't have any idea.
Connor McDavid did it 2 days ago in that tournament.
Oh,
nobody knows
I thought you meant in something that meant something.
No, but that's my point. Nobody knows about it because everybody's focused on the NHL, except for people overseas, because they don't get to see NHL players all the time. Right. So this is a huge deal for them. But like I said, I saw something the other day that was ridiculous. You know what it was, Eck? It was somebody saying, well, what are the scouts looking for in Quinn Hughes here that might affect the draft? My answer is nothing. They already know what Quinn Hughes did all year. Their reports are pretty much done. All they're doing is confirming a guy and going to make sure he doesn't get hurt.
I mean, remember 2016. Matthews and Laine were both in the World Championships. Laine had a really great World Championships.
Yep.
It did not get him over. And Matthews did pretty well. Didn't do as great as Laine did. Didn't affect the draft one iota.
A lot of people said it would. Remember, people were like, oh, I don't know. Laine could be the top guy.
Right. That was basically copy that they could write about for 2 months in between the right end of the regular season and the draft. It was bunk. And that's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't pop up on the radar. It's like the Leafs a few years ago.
All right, well, I'm making it pop up on the radar because I'm telling you, it's great hockey. I watched 2 really good hockey games today.
You're entitled to that opinion.
The finals, and they were. I mean, that Canada-Russia game and the U.S.-Czech game. I had both TVs going, and there was a lot of really good hockey going on. Yeah. And you're seeing stuff from Gaudreau and Cam Atkinson.
I like I said, I'll say this: if that tournament, and just think of it this way, most times it'd be like the Pro Bowl in the NFL, where everybody who played in the Super Bowl or the championships games would bow out. But if this tournament was in July or in early August, and everybody or most everybody was going, I'm there. I'm watching. I love hockey. But when you got the Stanley Cup playoffs going on, when you got the Calder Cup playoffs for me because I'm covering the Marlies, and you've got a World Championships that are in Denmark, I don't care. I'm watching the finals. I'm watching the conference finals. I'm watching the Calder Cup. I'm not watching the World Championships because it really doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't know. I guess. I mean,
we agree to disagree.
No, I really, for what it's worth, I'm throwing it out there. If you guys want to watch good hockey during the day, this is on, and it's really good hockey, and there is a lot of passion going on. There's a lot of players throwing themselves around, like Ekblad diving in front of shots to stop them. At one point today, the Canada won on a power play in overtime against Russia, which was pretty controversial. But the power play that they had out there was Parayko. So it's a 4-on-3 power play. So Parayko, Ekblad, McDavid, and Ryan O'Reilly. But so I'm thinking to myself, so right, those other 3 guys besides Ryan O'Reilly were all on that under 24 Team Europe things. I'm watching that. I'm thinking, okay, that's really interesting. So I'm watching Ekblad, Parayko, and McDavid. They're all on the Team North America in the World Cup. Right. The goaltending that they're getting, Kincaid's the goalie for the U.S. Kemper's the goalie for Canada. Kemper has not been good, and they definitely don't have their best goalies over there. Canada doesn't have
Kemper and McElhaney are their goalies.
I'm not saying that the goaltending. There's not a superstar goalie in this tournament for sure, but there is superstar talent. and to watch and like guys like Nick Bonino, over there. I mean, it's I'm watching Kapanen play for Finland. Finland's going. The other game going on right now is Finland versus Switzerland. Switzerland, we've got Roman Josi and Kevin Fiala there. It's like a lot of guys are showing up at the last second. I do agree that's kind of I think that's kind of bad for guys who are there and get kicked out, who don't get to play because these guys show up. I hate that aspect of it, so I do agree with you guys on that. And
there's an interesting story with Kapanen, because Kapanen was, at the trade deadline, he was sent down and recalled back up by the Marlies so he would qualify for the Calder Cup playoffs.
Right.
He was invited by Finland. I don't know if it was his choice or if he lobbied the Leafs, but they didn't send him down to the Calder for the Calder Cup playoffs because he'd been in the Calder Cup playoffs the last 2 years. He considers himself an NHLer now, and he wanted to play for his country. I don't blame him for that, but
it does affect. It obviously affects the Marlies. But then again, a guy who's that, who played that much in the NHL shouldn't be in the AHL anyway. Like in my opinion, in the playoffs, that's just as bad as this. That's just, to me, that's even worse because careers are on the line in the AHL. So give the guys who are in the AHL,
no, that's fair.
He's not an AHLer anymore. That's
I think
ridiculous.
That's fair, but I would say this. Tomorrow night, the Memorial Cup starts. I would rather watch the Memorial Cup.
Yes.
Because if you watch those games, you will see what having something on the line means compared to one of these games.
And a player that steps up in the Memorial Cup, if it's for Regina or whoever.
Yeah.
And they're not drafted.
There's no question.
That's a springboard for them being drafted in the NHL.
Memorial Cup's a great tournament as well. I'm just saying that these games are on during the day. If you guys, for the people who work at home or people who have a chance, or work out of their house or whatever, or want to just throw on your computer, because they're on the NHL network. If you got a Slingbox or whatever, they're on TSN 1 and through 5 or whatever. I was playing all of them.
Yeah, I'm going to throw on General Hospital probably over that.
No, I'm telling you, you're crazy.
I'm telling you.
There is a lot of passion. Like, I have talked to, and this tournament gets a bad rap, and I've talked to Kevin Allen about this tournament many times, and Kevin Allen will flat out tell you that this is the best tournament that no one knows about. That he says that if you go to it, you will see incredible hockey and great talent and players who really care about what's going on. He's covered it 3 or 4 times.
They're competitors. That's the thing. They'll be beating the crap out of each other in a practice.
So check this out, Switzerland. Okay, by the way, the other game's going on right now. Can I throw this out there? Finland is undefeated in this tournament. They are the top. They're the top seed. They beat the U.S., who's the 2nd seed in that. U.S. beat Canada in a really exciting game in overtime or in a shootout. Cam Atkinson, right? So right now the quarterfinals are going on. Canada and the U.S. went through this morning. So then the other quarterfinals are going on right now. So it's Sweden and like I said, Sweden and Latvia, 1-1 after 2.
Yep.
Switzerland and Finland. Switzerland's leading 3-1 after 2. So Finland's down 3. And this is this Finnish team has a ton of great players on it.
And if Latvia scores a goal in the 3rd period, they'll be crying their eyes out in the streets of Stockholm and in Toronto.
And this place
is
packed with Swedish fans because this is like just going across the river from Sweden. This is
a notification on my phone if this happens. No. And if I don't get a notification on my phone, it didn't happen.
You're such a snob. No, I'm telling people that I know this is Hockey Buzz, and hockey fans will want to watch great hockey being played. And
our buddy Avis is covering the World Championships.
Get in the comments and tell me that you're watching this and you're enjoying it, because I really want to find out. Get in there and tell me.
Does anybody in the chat room care? Write it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because I seriously doubt they do, unless they want to prove me wrong. Which
this is good stuff. No, I'm serious. You've got to be crazy if you're not. Really, seriously.
I'm not saying it's not good hockey.
At 10:30 in the morning on a Tuesday.
I'm not
saying, this is good.
I'm not saying this is not good hockey. I'm just saying no one cares.
I disagree.
Bill C said not watching it. He's the first to say something.
All right, Bill. That's fine. And if you're not watching it, fine. That's why I'm putting it out there, because I don't think a lot of people are watching it, because I think a lot of people have the opinion you guys have. But I'm telling you that I've watched it, and I've watched, because it's like I'm home. I work at home. I have it on in the background, and it went from being on the background to me being sitting there watching the thing. Like
here's how they get
it was that good.
Here's how they get more viewers, Russ. They put it on the Golf Channel.
All right, let's talk about tonight, should we? All right, game 3.
I just heard this opinion on a show that I was watching, and I actually agree with it. The Caps are up 2-1 in this series. It's a must-win for a team that's up 2-1.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if Tampa comes out and plays the way they did in Game 3 in Game 4 and completely erases the euphoria and the advantage that Washington had by winning both in Tampa, I mean, it's an even series on the 2-2, but you're telling me that Tampa doesn't have the momentum, and all of a sudden Washington is, a certain orifice in their body is not tightening? Because I think it is.
I do want to say this. Goalie FP said, when the IIHF is on, I put on Krypton from last night.
Thanks for having my back, everyone. I'm just telling you that my job as a hockey reporter is to tell you when good hockey is being played and good hockey is being played. So that's what I'm telling you. And you don't have to watch it if you want to. If you'd rather watch Wheel of Fortune or, the Great American.
I was over in Denmark. I'd be having some Danish blue cheese and some crackers and not watching.
The latest episode of Siesta Key, Jersey Shore, whatever you'd like to watch. You can watch that as much as you want. But I'm telling you during the day. But if you're home or working at home or you have the ability to put on a television during the day when you're working, this is really good hockey. And you've got some players over there who are excellent players. I mean, you've got serious all-stars over there. It's not the Olympics. It's better, by the way, way better than the Olympics. Not even close. And I know we had all of our issues with the Olympics, and I enjoy the Olympics for what they were. This is not even close. The level of this is so much higher. It's quicker, faster. Germany got killed right away. I mean, it felt bad for the Germans because there's a lot of the same players from the Olympics, right? The team that was there, but and because there is a hockey god, Russia got eliminated today because they sent a lot of the same players that won the gold medal were there.
But again, I'm not even getting into it. That's fine. It's fantastic.
I'm telling you. I mean, you're gonna. So what's setting up right now is Switzerland. Okay, I think Switzerland will end up playing. I forget how this works. If the Swiss play if Switzerland wins this, I think they play Canada. So that Canada's pretty much going to go through. The U.S. could end up playing Latvia. We could end up with a U.S.-Canada final. I mean, that's not a bad thing ever when that happens. So
I won't watch.
Yeah. Anyway,
I won't watch. I mean,
this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, these games are going to be on.
This is not like Ken Dryden's in goal and everything's on the line for the country.
The U.S. also has a weird thing about the U.S. team. They've got 4 players on this team who wear the number 13 in the NHL. How weird is that? Anyway, just throwing that out there. That's very strange. Figure out who they are. Are you changing the channel on me, Mike?
No, I was just saying I was yawning.
Look at you were changing the channel on me. You're like, click.
It's an app on my phone. I have found our sound effects. They are now back.
No, jeez.
It wasn't a good one.
Okay, here we go. Does anyone else feel this way about this series, this Capitals-Tampa series? Of the 4 teams left, I feel incredible passion from 3 of them, and then Tampa's there. Like, I just don't feel the same thing watching, even when Tampa scores goals, the way they react to doing things, I just don't see it. Like,
I don't think that's fair after Game 3. I thought they had some passion. I thought
they were excited when they scored. Of course, they wanted to win, but maybe it's just the other 3 teams have it feels like there's such high stakes. Like for Winnipeg to win a Stanley Cup would be phenomenal. For Vegas to win a cup, for Washington after all this time to win a cup would be phenomenal. And then there's Tampa, who's won a cup and was recently in the cup final.
I'll leave the Western Conference to the side and just concentrate on this one. Washington has to play with that high level of emotion because they're not as good of a team.
Right.
They're not as talented. I mean, if you're saying Tampa is resting on their laurels because they know that they're extremely deep and talented, I think you're right.
I totally disagree with this, Mike. I do. I think that, and I'm sorry we've had this fight over and over again about Washington.
It's a good debate.
You've given Washington no respect at all throughout this entire time. But I'm telling you, they are a better team.
Oh, yeah, true. Mike has been against Washington the whole time.
I just
plays in that sissy ass division, and they're just sitting there and sorry. Just kidding. No, but I'm just saying that.
Come on. You cannot dispute that Columbus let them off the hook in the round 1.
I can't dispute that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think they won over a Pittsburgh team that was beaten into the ground. So and
they've won Stanley Cups. That Pittsburgh team. So that Pittsburgh team is not. I mean, that's a good team. I know they weren't as good, and I predicted that they wouldn't win that series because I know this Pittsburgh team was definitely not where the other ones had been. But the Columbus team was actually really good, and the fact of the matter is, Washington owned them. And you could say Columbus let them off the hook, but Washington owned them. I really felt like, and Washington owned the Bolts in the first 2 games of this series. Totally.
Completely. Well, I'm going to give you a stat. This just in from Capitals PR. I don't think anybody cares about this, even Capitals fans. Alex Ovechkin's 4 goals shy of the Capitals franchise record for most of the single postseason. I don't think anybody cares right now.
Is that behind John Druce?
I don't even know who it's behind. It could be Dennis Maruk. I just don't think anybody cares.
Wasn't it John Druce who had the amazing Capitals run when they went to the Stanley Cup final? Isn't that like the all-time?
No, the Druce.
No, he was with Flyers. He was with the Flyers. He wasn't.
No, John Druce was.
No, Druce had.
I don't know if he was scoring at the same pace.
They made the conference finals that year. No, the guy who scored a lot of goals when they made the finals in '97 was Brian Bellows. Remember Brian Bellows came back from Switzerland and he scored a ton for them.
Right. No, I think that. I mean, it's interesting. So
Right
yes,
now,
I mean, I don't think for a second that Washington is dead if they lose this game. I'm not with you guys.
I don't think they're dead. I just think it's really important. I still think they could win the series simply because Game 7 would be in Winnipeg, and that plays into Washington.
What do you mean? No, I'm talking Winnipeg. No, I'm talking about.
It does, because they won't be playing Game 7 at home. If they can get it to 7, the Capitals probably feel better about it mentally. But here's the thing.
Well, they'll go to Tampa. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. But I think
sorry. Tampa.
That's okay. No. I thought you would just. I thought Game 7 for some reason had to be in Winnipeg.
I'm trying to read this breaking news. There's actual breaking news. Right now, the Capitals say that Backstrom is not medically cleared. Now, for some reason, reporters are still going to ask Barry Trotz later if he's in the lineup. I think.
That's Barry Trotz's fault because he put him out on a line today. He put him out instead of him.
It doesn't matter. I think when a team says the guy's not medically cleared, you no longer need to ask the coach if he's playing.
Well, then this is all a shell game. This is all.
Right. No, he probably tried to play. He probably tried to go in more.
But like we said, it's very difficult. He had that hand wrapped in a large way, like there was something really wrong with it, and that's going to affect pretty much everything in his game.
Yeah, it was wrapped up like Rocky Balboa's left hand.
You're talking about a finesse player who needs that, who needs the ability to make finesse plays. So that's and you might as well. You're still in the head in the series. Honestly, you still are. And if you're not feeling 100%, then do hold off, because in a couple days and something like that can matter a lot. So just give it a chance to heal. You don't want anything.
Yeah, but if we're talking broken bones, it's not.
Yeah, if you're talking broken bones, I still think that I still would not be shocked if we saw him again. Like if we did.
Here's the thing, though, Mike. What we don't know is it could be like a displaced fracture, and then you can actually play.
Right.
But again,
back in place. Yeah.
You get, like we said with this, you get one shot to get out there when you're hurt like this, because one slash and you're back out.
Sure.
That's
and everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows it's his right hand.
Yeah, everybody knows what it is. So
you telling me that Ryan Callahan isn't going to come over and slash at his right hand? If I was Ryan Callahan, I would do it the first time I was out on the ice with him. That's hockey. That's what you do.
Let me tell you, Mike, why Tampa is not as good as Washington, because and this is the thing that I've noticed, and Russ brought this up. They really only have 3 defensemen, and honestly, and one of them does not look healthy. Like, I don't think Strawman's healthy. I really don't think he's 100%. So at the end of the day, they have 3 defensemen against going against Ovechkin.
How many does Washington have?
But it doesn't matter. They're going against Ovechkin.
I think they have 4, and then their bottom pairing's decent because Orpik and Juice have done a decent job.
No, the thing is, I mean, and obviously Cooper is going with veterans, and I disagree. I wouldn't be going with Schuster, because I think Schuster is a train wreck. But I'd be going with Cuckoo or Dotchin or those guys in the playoffs over Braden Coburn. But
he's like, he wants to play anybody but these veterans right now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely the impression we're getting. I mean, I don't know. Sweden just took a 2-1 lead on Latvia, by the way. So I think.
Oh God, no!
I know everybody's
hearts are breaking in Riga.
No. I mean, this means a lot. This could be, this is Sweden against the U.S.
I know. I'm saying hearts are breaking in Riga.
The Trey Kroner Twitter feed will go crazy, right? I get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was supposed to be.
Latvia is a huge win. Huge.
Meatballs for everyone.
I'm not gonna say anything. All right, so
It's almost like beating Japan, but a little better.
Korea was in this tournament.
Yeah, well, did they lose 13-1?
Yeah. Finland had 5 shorthanded goals against them in one game.
Yeah, see, that's the point. Again, don't get
It's
That's not what I'm just saying.
It's just so stupid.
it is
It really is.
This is the no. This
It's
is
stupid.
this is what's great about this, and I'm sorry about the Washington thing. We're not talking enough about it, but this is what's great about this is the fact that I love dispersity. Like I love different. I don't like parity. I want there to be teams. I want this Latvia Sweden game to be interesting because Latvia should be no way, shape, or form in this game. I like that. I actually do. I like the fact that a player can go crazy, like Patrick Kane can put up big numbers because he's playing against defensemen that are not as good as what he's used to playing against. I get that. That's cool. But you know, there are certain things that I don't know. Like
I really want to see a game between the New York Yankees and the Buffalo Bisons because that's basically what it is.
Yeah, you do want to see it because it could be fascinating. It could be like, and hockey's different because than baseball. But hockey, you know, in hockey you always have a goalie. Latvia has a great goalie. He's doing a hell of a job, and he's keeping him in it, right? So that's what's happening in this game. But in the other game, man, Finland's totally choking against Switzerland. That's like an enormous win. So anyway, regardless, let's get back to Caps.
David Abisher in goal for Switzerland. Like, come on.
No, it's Martin Gerber probably, or
It's not
Jonas
Martin
Hiller.
Gerber. No.
Who's the goalie?
I'll find out the goalies for you.
You better find out. I thought you were plugged into this.
No, they're two goalies they're two goalies I have never heard of before. Like honestly, you probably would know them.
It's Jonas Hiller. It's got to be Jonas.
No, it's not. These are not NHLers. I'll tell you that much. They're not NHL goalies. There aren't. But that's where this tournament's lacking is goalies. There's no real superstar goalies in this tournament. Probably the best has been the American. You know, like honestly, Kincaid's probably been the best.
Yeah.
So anyway, but anyway, tonight I think that this is definitely a must win for Tampa. Like that goes without saying, I guess, because it's a 3-1 thing. But if the only reason I would see people possibly going with this theory, Mike, that or whoever said it, that if I guess it was Mike, that if Tampa were to win tonight, Washington would be in trouble, would be the echo of the fact that the last time these two teams played in the conference finals, Washington won the first 2 games in Tampa, and Tampa won the series in 6. Right, that happened. So this has happened before. And people are going to start talking about that all the time. Yeah.
It's Red O'Bara.
Oh, it's Red O'Bara. Okay. Yeah, he's okay.
And his backup is Leonardo Giannoni, who
I think that's who's playing. I think Giannoni is who's playing in this game. Sorry.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
In his spare time, he is painting the.
No, it's not. Red O'Bara is not playing in this game.
I don't think he's related to John Giannoni, who was used to be a center/forward for the New York Knicks. But anyhow.
So I guess that's all the time we have for today.
Wait, we're not going to go live to the World Championships?
You want to? Here we go. Okay. Finland scored 3-2. 3-2. Yeah. So now you got to go to this game is on if you're in Canada, it's on TSN 5.
7.
TSN 5.
It's on the Ocho.
The other games, the Sweden game's on TSN 1 through 4. But this game's on TSN 5. I don't know which game's being played on the NHL Network right now.
I think it was actually tape delay of the U.S.
Everybody wants a rumor, Ek. You got to give them a rumor before we go.
Okay, a rumor. Give me a second.
That was ugly, Mike. You really got to work on your sound effect game.
Sorry about that.
Bring up my notes 1 second. I'm about to put a rumor blog together this afternoon, so I'm thankful. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. All right, let's talk Galchenyuk for a second, can we? Because I've been talking about Galchenyuk today with a couple people. This is another player that the Islanders are in on, and have been in on before. Another possibility, and the Islanders, of course, Anders Lee playing for Team USA in this tournament. The Galchenyuk really, obviously all the issues in Montreal. Is he a center? Is he not a center? He just needs to get the hell out of Montreal. I think that's really where it's at. But I still have him. I'm still battling this thing because I still think that at this point I'm not ready to ever say that he's going to ever leave Montreal because it seems like he should have left 1,000 times by now, but he hasn't. So as Chicago, Montreal, and the Islanders, I have it 20% on the rumor chart. all three of them as favorites. And I've heard Chicago, again, and this could be part of, that trade that we talked about before, like if Taves ends up going anywhere. I know I'm getting a lot of heat for the Taves trade. It's just a rumor, folks. That's all we do here. But, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I definitely wouldn't even expect it to happen because it was one of those crazy trades. But then again, who knows? The other teams that are involved, Jersey, Edmonton, St. Louis, these are other possible landing spots for Galchenyuk. I think, my feeling is Galchenyuk will go somewhere and thrive. Right. I think he's going to become a great player somewhere else. And I think that Montreal's afraid of moving him for that reason. But at the same time, they've never been able to get this thing quite right with him. So the Canadiens are just a fascinating team to watch this whole summer. And I wrote today about the same thing I wrote, because people were talking about PK Subban possibly being traded, which also is another Dave Pagnotta thing I found out. He said that PK Subban's not going to be traded, right? He said this on TSN in Montreal.
Okay.
There's no way. I talked to people. They told me that there's other ways that in Nashville that they're going to make the salary cap work. But I didn't get the same reaction from Montreal. And we talked about Shea Weber could possibly be moved. And I do think that that's possible. Talking to people, I do think that is possible. I don't know. I still wouldn't put it probable at all. I would still put it like 80% he stays in Montreal. But I think that there's a thought there that he could be moved. And it's just a question of who could take on that contract. And is this something like, I'll tell you who I would, if I was Vegas, this is the guy I would go for. Weber? If I was Vegas, I would go for Shea Weber. Yeah, I would. You have the money, you have young defense in there that can learn a lot. I know you've already had success. Shea Weber does not slow you down at all.
Yeah, but they're going to ask for Eric Brandstrom. And as much as I like Shea Weber, I don't want to trade him Eric Brandstrom when I'm only going to get 3 years of Shea Weber and he's going to play for 15 years. I can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, but how does? Yeah, they're going to ask. I don't think they're going to get him though. I think you'd be more likely.
For. I mean, so all right. Yeah. So you don't get Brandstrom. You're not getting Cody Glass. You're not even getting Suzuki. Like I don't think they would give up any of those three.
Right.
Which brings up the question that's going to be talked about a lot this summer, and we do have to stop the show. I know because we're running out of time, but the idea of how is Vegas going to act after this? Like, how are they?
They're going to act like a rebuilding team.
Vegas is going to act like a rebuilding team. You think they're going to stay? Yes. Or are they just going to bring all these guys back and go with this? Is this what they're going to do?
They're going to bring back a good majority. They're going to lose some guys for sure.
Right.
Who? I mean, who do you think they're going to lose for sure?
They're going to lose. They're going to lose one of either Neil or Perron. They can't.
They're going to lose Neil.
Right. They're not going to lose Neil. I've talked that he's not going anywhere.
He's going to get offered more money than what Vegas is going to want to give him. That's the problem.
Now, guys like, they'll be happy when Grabowski's a free agent because that relieves them of that. Jason Garrison. So that's like $10 million in cap room right there.
Yeah, they got plenty of cap. They're
worried about cap space for them. I just think the way that George McPhee has been talking, he is not going to want to keep around some of the oldest players because if he keeps around James Neal, he's got to give him like a 7-year contract, and he is not going to want to do that.
Now, what he'll do is he'll reserve those long-term contracts to a guy like Nate Schmidt because Nate Schmidt will get an 8-year deal. Right. He's got a year left on his contract right now, but then he's a UFA afterward. So I'm saying they're going to sign Schmidt to an extension.
Yeah, he'll get a 7-year extension.
Yeah.
He will.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see, but I think I
think there's a chance. I think
James Neal could take less money than you think.
Well, maybe, but I'm saying I think there's a chance.
What do you think? Hold on. What do you think he's going to take for less? That he's not going to accept $5 million. Not after this season.
No, I think more in terms of term than
5 by 5.
Yeah, like 6 by 5. 6 million.
Russ, isn't he 33, 34 years old?
I'm looking him up right now.
I think he's that old, and that's
only 30. He's only 30.
That's why. But 5 years at $6 million, $30 million. That's a perfect contract for both James Neal and Vegas.
Maybe they get in on James Van Riemsdyk.
No, they very well could. They very well could.
Neal is already making 5. He's going to want more than 6. He's going to ask for at least 7.5.
The only thing is, though, who out there is going to give it to him?
That's a big thing. I mean,
that's the thing. It's like
he's been great, but
Mike, I'm going to give you a team. How do we know Carolina's not trying to line up a guy like that? Because Brendan Moore says, "Hey, you know what? He's a winner. We need a guy like this in the locker room."
Sure, I agree with that, and I
live in a world where James Neal is considered a guy you want in the locker room.
Well, I mean, is he hurting him? No.
Won cups.
No, I mean he's been incredibly successful. I'm just saying that's a funny statement in a lot of ways.
But I until I see otherwise, I'm prepared to believe that since they were in on Carlson at the deadline, that they'll be in on Carlson again.
His last contract was a 6-year deal. He's 30 years old. Yeah. He's not taking anything less than a 6 or a 7-year deal.
Yeah. He's in the same position, Russ, as Van Riemsdyk. Van Riemsdyk took a 6-year deal of 4.25. He scored a career high 36 goals. He's not taking a short term. He's not taking a hometown discount. He wants 7 years times 6, and the bidding starts there. And he's going to get
Neil is going to ask for like 7.5 for 6 years out of Vegas, and I don't think Vegas will want to pay him that much because of the term. Because they know they have guys coming. And why do you want James Neal on your team when he's 35 years old?
But they don't have that many guys coming. I mean, it's like
they had a good draft last year.
They had a very good draft last year.
They had a good draft, and they're stockpiled the next 2 years. I mean, the Tatar deal didn't hurt them in terms of trading draft picks. They traded a 1, a 2, and a 3. They've got what, I think three first-round picks in the next 2 years.
But those first-round picks are years away. I mean, so James Neal, if you give him 5 years,
Brandstrom could play possibly next year.
Glass could play next year.
Glass is probably going to play next year, and Suzuki's 2 to 3 away. Here's the thing, though, and they got other guys even besides them. They haven't even really delved into the college free agent, European free agent market. Like they really haven't.
They got burned on it with Shipachyov.
But in the college free agent market, they have largely left that alone, where that's been a strength of McPhee. If they start going that route, they're going to add depth quickly, and they probably will because they're going to need to field an AHL team, right? But I just think, like Mike said, they've got most of these guys will come back. I don't think they're going to lock up anybody else. Like Marchessault is younger than Neal.
Yeah,
Carlson's younger than Neal. I think once you hit that 30 line, McPhee is going to be very careful about what, other than Fleury, because Fleury, again, is showing that as a goalie, you can play till 39 anyhow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Shipachyov, I talked to a player on this team 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In Vegas, and they talked about the Shipachyov situation a lot. That's a great story there that hasn't come out, the whole thing of it. It really is. And at the end of the day, what he said about it, which really he thinks it was a big part of the team turning into what it was, because he felt like that, he was like the most starish type player they had.
Right.
He had the star quality. They didn't let him act that way. And because of that, there was like a big time respect among the players who were still there of saying, okay, we're not going to get away with that, because no one knew what the rules were, because it was a brand new team. So no one knew exactly how Gallant would treat everybody, because Gallant is a player friendly coach. So we weren't sure. They weren't sure quite. But at the end of the day, the way this went down, it really garnered a lot of respect for Gallant, for the fact that the owners were willing to punt on this guy, that all that meant something to them. And that's a good story that will eventually surface, I think. And Shipachyov, I wonder what he's thinking of this whole situation, when you look at it.
We have to end the show.
Okay, remember that the buzz is just hockey. Talk to you soon. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tonight,
but don't watch the World Championships.